Buenos nachos, amigos, and welcome to Record Breakers, a podcast where a group of friends gather together, share music with each other, an album at a time, like a little book club for music. It's a good, fun time had by all. I'm Petey Rave, your man with no plan. Here with me is my team, my squad, my crew. We've got Brett.
Ahoy, hoy.
We've got Drew.
Hi.
And we've got David.
I'm very self-conscious about eating chicken in public.
Yes. And of course, it's that time of the cycle for a guest. And this time, the person that invited the guest is Deej. David, who have we brought in to this episode?
Well, PD Rave, we have brought in a music aficionado and a host of a podcast of his own called That Sounds Good, and a combat sport aficionado at the Dojo Talk podcast. Please welcome Record Breakers listeners and fans to Mr. Mike Williams, a.k.a. Mike Will, made it on the Record Breakers podcast. Mike, thanks for joining us.
No problem. And I wish I had a fancy intro, but I do not.
Yeah. I don't. I just
intro up
fancy.
Yeah. My fancy intro where I pull just stuff out of my butt. But of course, as we do it with new guests, we have them bring in an album of their choosing on their first time. Mike, what album have you brought for us?
All right. The album that we will be discussing that I bought forward was the 2016 release from Open Mike Eagle and Paul White. This album is entitled Hella Personal Film Festival. I bought this in just because compared to some of other albums from Open Mike Eagle, I felt like this one would leave a bit more to talk about because this one is kind of, I don't even know the word to describe it, a little more all over the place than some of his other releases.
Diverse. They would say,
yeah. It's a little off the path a little bit.
Yeah. Let's talk about some expectations. Brett, hip hop aficionado that you are, what were your expectations?
Number one hip hop fan in the crew. I don't know anything about. Well, I know quite a bit from what I've learned with you guys, but this is outside of my wheelhouse. Obviously, I kind of knew what I was getting into. I assumed it wasn't going to be a jazz musician named Open Mike.
Yes.
So I just figured I was in for something that was going to be the equivalent of me eating my vegetables.
Yes. Drew, what were your expectations coming into this album?
All I can think of right now after Brett was if Open Mike was a scat musician where he was just scuba hoppa dee like throughout the entire record. Now,
I mean, there you go. There's your $1 million idea. That's
Scatman John and Open Mike Eagle on the next. But no, I knew a little bit about Open Mike Eagle and sort of what he was about as far as the lyrics were going to be concerned. I know whenever you sort of look up online the more socially conscious sort of rap, Open Mike Eagle is something that usually comes up. It's never something I delved into a whole heck of a lot, which, like another one that I recently started diving into with Run the Jewels, may have been a mistake on my part, and I will apologize for that. But it was something where I knew lyrically this was going to go some places that were a bit deeper than you sometimes get in hip-hop, and I was ready for that. The music we'll get into whether I was ready for or not in the next block.
Yeah. I would say I'll interject with this isn't as much conscious rap as it is self-conscious rap. I'll say that.
Yes.
Deej, David, what were your expectations coming into this album?
I like my hip hop weird. I like my hip hop when it gets really, really weird.
I like my music when it gets weird, and I think you are right there with me, Mister. I listen to fusion metal.
And when I first came on Record Breakers, the first album I bought as a co-host was Atrocity Exhibition by Danny Brown. So again, I like my hip hop weird.
Yes.
Open Mike Eagle, he is someone that I had sort of a passing awareness of. More of the, dare I use the B word, backpacker variety than I usually care for. But I had a passing awareness of him, and I was interested in hearing this because I recognized who the producer was, and I was mildly intrigued.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was interested because I know of Open Mike Eagle, and primarily as I linked to you guys for some extra homework from his collaboration with my homegirl Samus, my beautiful queen Samus, doing a song with her. So I was aware of him. Also, I'm looking at his Wikipedia, and he's collaborated with Dumbfounded, which is wild to me, and apparently on multiple times. So that's cool. But yeah, I was intrigued as to what this was going to be musically. But let's talk about what it is musically. Mike, how would you describe this album musically? What would be the themes elements that you would bring up?
This is it's like this soulful, but like it's really hard to put a word on this, and it's kind of why I like it so much. Like, it's soulful, it's witty, it's self-deprecating at times, but it's also comedic but socially aware. I guess in terms of the lyrics, production wise, it's minimal, but I think it does enough. Like, I like the production because it Open Mike Eagle has this really, his delivery is kind of almost very laid back, very comedic, and I feel like the instrumentation kind of helps that. Like, it's not getting in the way, it's not doing too much. It just kind of coasts along with him in its own weird little way. It just kind of fits in with what he's doing. So I think Paul White did a really good job of crafting instrumentals that just kind of fit this weird, quirky story of an album.
Mm-hmm. I would say so too. Brett, how would you describe this album musically?
Well, as I mentioned before, I barely know more about hip hop than I do Baroque music. So like I don't really have the vocabulary to dig into this really, but it's still fun. This was out of my wheelhouse, but it was not difficult at all to listen to and follow along. I actually listened to most of this while I was playing Trials, and it, like, when I was getting in the zone, it was kind of an awesome thing to listen to. The beats are very solid. The production is very tight, and it's kind of strange sometimes. There are things that I'd never heard before. Like, the lyrics themselves are put forward in a very, like, it's not jump splits and pyrotechnics. It's coming at you in a very, like, almost casual conversation way, which was easy. It's not going a mile a minute. I can pick up everything that's being said, even though I was still finding stuff in my multiple listens. There were some really cool things. Like when I get into the tracks, I'll get a little closer. But the things that stuck with me were the weird, the strange things that were chopped together. The lyrics I was not expecting, and the synthesizers. I'm a synthesizer fan.
Yes. Drew, how would you describe this album musically?
The thing that surprised me about this record musically was how smooth it all was, for lack of a better term. Again, like I said, Open Mike Eagle always came up when, like, you're looking at the more, like, artsy side of hip hop, right? And it was more well thought out. And this album, for some reason, I sort of got it, as far as why that would be considered and how he would think through the actual music itself and how the wordplay and the music sort of fit together. Him and Paul White. There was a lot of it that like we've been saying, it's thought out. It's really well thought out from a lyrical standpoint. It's a lot of introspection. Brett said it, I think, perfectly. It's conversational at times instead of a lot of, hey, this is me, you're going to deal with it sort of stuff. It's like, yeah, no, this is sort of life, and this is how I'm living mine. How are you living your sort of situations? And I really, really dig that. When it got into like society and politics at the times that it did, it felt more like a guy working through his own thought process than laying out like 100% truths, which I really, really enjoyed. Like seeing it from that side of like trying to understand the world through music while you're making the music instead of saying like, no, I sat back and like, now I understand it. Like, I think is really a cool idea. That being said, like I listen to a lot of this. Brett said he listened to a lot while playing Trials. I listen to a lot while driving early in the morning to work, which was a really cool way to listen to this while you're like just sort of zoned out and chilling and just getting into it. And it was just a really cool album to just was relaxing in a way and thoughtful in others. And I really, really enjoyed that.
Mm-hmm. David, how would you describe this album musically?
This is not a Friday night kind of album. This is more of a lazy Sunday kind of album. You get what I mean? I get the impression that Mike Eagle is a big fan of Yasin Bey, formerly known as Mos Def, because I hear a lot of Mos Def on this album, and I also hear splashes, the occasional splash of Andre 3000. As it's already been said, the wordplay is pretty interesting. He's definitely a smart guy who knows how to mix wordplay with lyrical flow, with the beats that he's given, while being clever and honest and personal. There are some songs on this, which we'll get into later, that hit me very, very personally, that I really appreciated. I think that, like Drew, I listened to this album on my first spin driving to work in the morning, and it was okay. But then when I tried listening to it in the afternoon, I found myself kind of, losing focus. It is not an album that necessarily pulls you in and holds your attention. But that's not necessarily a bad thing with what the overall package was. Again, this is a lazy Sunday afternoon album.
Mm-hmm. I can definitely see that. Like there's a lot of creativity going on, like lyrics wise. There's very smart, like personal sounding lyrics. It is very, it like I said, it does kind of toe the line of being like between conscious rap and self-conscious rap. Like it's a little bit of like just trying to understand what your place in the world is, and it's really well made. Like it is good music to kind of just like absorb in the background, like you guys said. Like for example, today I was listening to this album a couple of times while playing Stardew Valley. It's just sitting there trying to water all my plants while Open Mike Eagle's just doing his thing, or Aesop.
I was not listening to this album while practicing Tekken.
Oh,
I was not.
Yeah.
Need those audio cues.
Yes. Gotta be able to react. But yeah, let's talk about some of the key tracks. Let's talk about those audio cues. Mike, what would be some of the key tracks that you would zero in on?
The first track, which caught my attention the first time I listened to this, was Check to Check, which ironically was the single, I believe, for this album when it came out. I feel like this song encompasses like Open Mike Eagle as an artist perfectly. Just a variety of topics he's able to touch on, where in Check to Check, he's literally just talking about checking your phone and pretending it's a free weight and checking on this, checking on that, checking on sports updates, and it's just like this conundrum of things that he's just trying to check on. Another standout track for me was I Went Outside Today featuring Aesop Rock. I love the end of his verse where it just seems like he just like gets mad and just drops the F-bomb and his verse just stops.
Yeah. Like I wonder, like, did he mess up?
Because
I was thinking, do another take, dude.
Yeah, but it was such a perfect cutoff. I was like, I wonder if that was for real, and he just kept it like that. But he just does these it's those little weird kind of moments that make me just appreciate him as an artist. I really enjoyed Insecurity too, where he goes through this whole spiel of, I want you to be honest, I want you to tell the truth, even if it might hurt, so on and so forth. And then he gets to the last verse and he's like, you know what, forget everything I just said, just lie to me. Like, I don't care anymore. Yeah. And it's those weird, quirky moments. And like I said, the way it's delivered, it sounds like comedic because of just like his vocal tone. But like when you really just listen to what he's saying, it's honestly like it's really serious and it's almost kind of heavy. Like if he didn't deliver it the way he did, this might be a really depressing album to listen to. But the sound of it just makes it really fun. And if you're not paying attention, you might kind of miss like all the seriousness that's actually going on.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
There's quite a bit of that.
Yes. Brett, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
Well, because even in the music that I'm into, lyrics are normally the thing that I come to secondary to the, like I am a groove first kind of guy. So the opening track, cat hairs, the cat on my mixer again. The funky guitar and bass on Admitting the Endorphin Addiction. Like it has funky guitar and bass. It's got like snaps, people snapping into a microphone and electric piano. The backing track was really neat, and it was something that as I was doing my multiple listens, I looped back to the beginning. It really was a hard beginning to the album. It very much stuck with me. The Curse of Hypervigilance is probably the most earwormy song that's on this album. Like it's a piano and a whistle track. There's not a lot of that. And then when the hook comes in, you got this weird like synth and horn thing that goes on along with the whistles and the piano. And none of that should have worked, and it did. It was really cool. And I thought the lyrics were pretty great. And Dive Bar Support Group, from the vintage clips and the absurd like feeling that was enough to grab me. Like there was these weird, almost harmonizing vocals, kind of dissonant in the back. There's some very enjoyable lyrics. It was kind of it was way more dense than I was expecting. This whole entire album had a lot more going on for how simple it was. Every time I'd listen, I'd hear something new. I could probably talk about every single track on this album because there's something there that like I was like, that's a turn of phrase, but I'll let the other guys talk.
Yeah. Drew, what will be some of the key tracks for you?
Well, Admitting the Endorphin Addiction, to start off with that sort of groove on the album. Like, again, I say this a lot, and I'll say it again until I'm blue in the face. Let me know if I don't know anything and your first track lets me know what I'm getting into. I really, really enjoy that. And I feel like this one did. Somehow it felt like almost nostalgic, which makes no sense to me. But it hit that sort of thing in the back of my head. The Curse of Hypervigilance, the way it sort of plays with the politics, romance, cohabitation thing in each verse and how it splits those things up, I think is really, really cool and well thought out. The almost the distrust that comes with all of those things, how you look at all of them sort of sometimes in a sideways glance, like I don't know, like, is this for real sort of thing. And then Dive Bar Support Group, something about it. Like it's not the same as, but it has that same tonality that a lot of like vaporwave artists will use. Like not the stretched out, but the tone of it, which made it have this like really super dreamy feel to me, which was really cool. But it was still upbeat. It was still smooth. And then something about Drunk Dreaming like hit me in this way that was nuts, because like the way he was describing those drunk dreams, like just imagining a tiny Barack Obama on a drone like going over the Middle East is like really fucking weird. And like that's great. Like that visualization alone was like, all right, this is good enough for admission. Like I'm all right with this. This is cool.
Like a shot of whiskey making you a time traveler. It happens.
I know that. I'm aware of that process.
You travel to the future. Suddenly you're home. You don't know where how you got there. I haven't had that experience, and I hope I never do. David, Deej, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
Dang is Invincible was the first one that really caught me, because for whatever reason, admitting the endorphin addiction and I Went Outside Today didn't really click with me right away. But Dang is Invincible did. And I don't mind when an album takes a few tracks to get going. I don't mind that. Smiling is a song I wish everyone would hear in the world. Play it for your friends, play it for your enemies, play it for your parents, play it for your grandparents, play it for your cousins. Not just the lyrical content, but the fact that he manages to continue telling the story on the hook and on the chorus. Smiling, in parentheses, quirky race doc. I think that's appropriate, and I want all people in the universe to hear that song. Insecurity Part 2, The More the Merrier. That one was also kind of a lot of fun lyrically. And last but not least, Leave People Alone, which I think is a great kind of mind your business song, and I think it speaks for itself. Lyrically, again, really, really good, really, really smart, really, really funny, but the message is there.
Yes.
But most definitely smiling.
Leave People Alone, and smiling. I would say, Leave People Alone. I very strongly agree with the message of that song. And also, Smiling is just, it is, it's a song everyone should hear, especially, but you should all be listening to this entire album, but keep an eye out for that. Also, there was something about this one line that I just really enjoyed, that it kind of just clicked everything in for me in Smiling, which was, trying to appear dumber than I is. Yeah. Which I think, like that's one of those moments. Yeah. It's kind of like how Samus's, I can't believe I forgot it. Samus's Mighty Morphing, she performs Mighty Morphing, with extra enunciation, because of the line of the song, don't enunciate or you're an Oreo. She performs the whole thing enunciating. So it's that little thing of just that little thing that makes it just click. And I think it's just fantastic. Just those little details. But let's bring it back around the horn and talk about some conclusive thoughts. Brett, how would you conclude on this album?
I mean, I dug my time with this album. I heard something that I'd never heard before that I enjoyed, that I probably would not have run into in the wild if it hadn't been for it coming on this show, which is the whole point of doing this show, because I can't just listen to jazz standards and Rush all day every day. But this is definitely something that I may go back to in the future. I don't know. It's on my list. It may come up in a rando now.
That's big for you in rap music. I will say that real quick.
That's an endorsement.
I'll have Charlie Tuna has shown up in my playlists once or twice since there's some stuff.
The Verbal Herman Monster
to this. Just mine was by a former racist wrestler.
Yes.
But
former wrestler,
is-
still racist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The,
gotta
the
get those
former
words right.
the former racist.
Yeah.
Still not sure.
No.
No.
The jury's still out on that one.
But
Yes.
no, I definitely enjoyed this, and it was, there's, it's not like I have something against hip hop. It's just not. I listen to what I know, and now I know a little bit more. So overall, I had a pretty positive experience.
Mm-hmm.
And
Drew.
I got some gold medals on trials that
Yeah.
I from like 4 years ago that I couldn't get. So
Nice. It's good. It's good. Drew, how would you conclude on this album?
This was something that was really surprising to me as a whole. I absolutely dug every bit of it. It's something that like I'm already thinking of. Maybe I should go back and listen to like dark comedy or something and figure out some more of this stuff because it hit me like a ton of bricks. I'm like, okay, I get this.
Definitely listen to
I
dark
dig it.
comedy.
Yes.
Yeah, I've heard good things about it. But yeah, the moniker of the art rap guy, I get it, and he's not wrong. It's fucking good.
It's pretty goddamn good. David, how would you conclude on this album?
This is definitely a art rap album. It most definitely is. Like I said at the beginning, when I do listen to more hip hop, I do like something with a little bit more adrenaline, a little bit more energy, and a little bit more punch. This was a little more laid back and subdued than I usually care for.
DJ wants shit
nothing-
to slap. That shit better slap.
that's
You're not wrong. The lyrics and the flow on some of the songs were really, really good for me. And then on some others, it really, really wasn't. I feel like this should have been better. I feel like if he had continued in this direction on the next album after this, I probably really, really like it. But this was a little too chill for me to say that I think it was awesome. I would like to hear Open Mike Eagle with a different producer with some different beats. I would say, once again, if you're a big fan of Mos Def, you can definitely check him out. But I feel like it's very good for what this is.
Yeah.
But I need a little bit more.
Yeah, I could definitely understand that. That's if you want that, of course. Luckily, there's right before it, dark comedy, and right after it, Brick Body, Kids Still Daydream, which has the aforementioned collaboration with Samus hymnal, which is a music video everyone should check out. It's just amazing. That's an amazing a music video for hymnal. But yeah, this album was right down my wheelhouse. If with all the hip hop that you've all seen me bring onto the show, and then all the weird like chill music that I put on the show, this is right down my wheelhouse. This is a guy that is, collaborates with a lot of people that I'm a fan of, like the fact that he has a group with Dumbfounded.
Oh, there we go.
here we go.
There it is.
Okay.
There it
We
is.
We
broke
have
the
to get
Matrix.
the Krusty the
The
Clown,
audio listeners
technical
have no
difficulty.
idea what's going on.
I don't even
Fix
know
that in
what's gonna
post.
we'll fix that
Skype is
or not.
awesome.
I don't know. It's just
That
my
required
entire
work.
computer. My entire computer froze. That was weird. I was like, at that point, I had given up. I was like, all right, I guess my computer's gonna blue screen. Reset. That being said, this album is just a treat as far as like just being moody and weird and kind of out there and emotional but darkly comedic, dark comedy.
And again, Petey, with Danny Brown, I love all of those things.
yeah, this
Just
is
needed a little bit more oomph.
Yeah,
you know?
and I think I definitely can understand that, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. Obviously, and with the situation, like I can put it on and do something at the same time. So I like a little bit of a chill album, especially with all those things as elements. So overall, this is just right down my wheelhouse, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Mike, last but not least, you get the last word. What would be your conclusion on this album as a whole?
This for me is really just great listen. Like before we talked about this tonight, it's been a while since I listened to this, and when I put it back on, I was like, this was really easy on the ears. And I'm a really just kind of chill person, so this for me is this is everything I'm looking for. Like I can just put this on and just relax, and it just feels like it makes my day run smoother if I put this on and just kind of just let it ride out. But yeah, I would definitely just recommend this to everybody. Give this a look. Definitely listen to Dark Comedy. Listen to Brick Body Kids Still Daydream, and definitely listen to Samus. Samus is awesome.
Yes.
But yeah, this album for me is, if you're looking for something, like you guys said, a bit more on the artsy side, but it's still smooth, something easygoing, something that's not gonna bash you over the head. Give this a look. It's something you can put on and just kind of let it ride out. But yeah, I love this. I really enjoy this project.
Yeah, definitely worth listening to. Yeah, those are our conclusive thoughts. Now we get into the main event of the evening, the moment we've all been waiting for. What it all matters. The only thing that matters after all of this, we get to our haiku reviews. It's gonna be a fun time. Let's get down to the nitty gritty. Haikumero numero uno. I keep using that bit. It's just like
Petey,
nobody
it's
can
good.
write
Go with it, Petey. Just go with it. Just go with it.
Scott Rogalski here. Or Pete Rogalski, I guess. Brett, I'll go with you. What is your haiku?
Oh boy, we're getting real high-minded here. Really fresh to me. I found it enjoyable. Out of my normal.
Yes. Drew, what is your haiku?
Never gave the time, and now I know I was wrong. Smart voice, great music.
Mm-hmm. Deej, what is your haiku?
I should like this more. The pieces are all right there. It doesn't quite hit.
Mm-hmm. My haiku: smart, honest hip hop that brings tons to the table and has things to say. And last but not least, Mike, what is your haiku?
Oh God. So I don't really have one for this album, but I have one in general that I will read.
We'll take it.
A summer river being crossed, how pleasing, with sandals in my hands. Yosa Busan.
Yes.
Perfect.
Word. I'll take it.
It's snowing on Mount Fuji. There you go.
God damn it. Aaron.
I swear I'm gonna do a haiku next. If we ever do, Drew, if you ever bring in Ninja Sex Party again, which I don't know if you ever will, I think
Bring in Star Bomb instead.
Star Bomb. I may or may not beat you to doing my haiku ending with "It's snowing on Mount Fuji," even though
Fair
it's
enough.
in my hand right now. Hear me tipping my bit hand. I'm ruining the surprise. Yeah, those are our thoughts on Open Mike Eagle. Hella Personal Film Festival. Really fantastic album. Go check it out. It's on our Spotify playlist. You can play Record Breakers the home game. Follow along at home. On that Spotify playlist will be next week's record. Next week's record, we start over in the beginning of the cycle. We start with me, my album, and I figure this is a good, almost kind of serendipitous. I didn't actually plan this. I was already in my plan to introduce this album, but it kind of works out. I'm gonna go ahead and do the album by Bag of Tricks Cat and Mega Ran, known as Emerald Knights 2. Kind of a surprise sleeper hit that just came out this year. Fantastic album, so look forward to that next week. Emerald
But
Knights will
is
go.
it fantastic? Find out
Find out.
on the next episode of Record Breakers.
Yo, the guy likes video games.
Well, actually, it's more than just about that. Trust me.
Yeah,
Look
yes.
forward to. Look
I don't
forward
want to be
to.
dismissive, but yes, he's that guy.
Yes, yes.
Wait, 2 or 2.1?
Let
I
me
don't know
look
what
at
the difference
2.1, but I'm gonna go with 2 because that's when was the album that came out. You could listen to 2.1. I gotta go check out 2.1.
I think 2.1 is literally there's just a remix on it, like
Okay.
one
Yeah, okay. So either way,
maybe.
Emerald Knights 2. Go check it out on the Spotify playlist. All right, Mike. Thank you for coming on the show. Where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me on the interwebs on Twitter at Serial Sensei. You can find me on SoundCloud on the Dojo Talk podcast, and I'm also on YouTube with a podcast called Sounds Like Fun, where I review music also. So if you just type in Serial Sensei on your Googles, you will find me, and I will pop up somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Go check that out. You can, of course, find the rest of us all over the internet. David is that initials are DJM.
For now.
For now. We'll keep an eye out. Brett is at Hibbidi-Brett, HIBBITYBIBBARD, just not on Twitter. Drew is at XDruciferX. I'm at PD Rave. The show is at 4 Record Breakers. That's the number 4 Record Breakers, only on Twitter. Rebelli TV on YouTube. RecordBreakersPodcast.com. RecordBreakersPodcast@gmail.com is our email. Rebelli.net is the website for this and other shows. You can find us everywhere we do podcasts, or where you can get podcasts, iTunes, Stitcher, Pocket Casts, the like. Like, share, subscribe, do all the things. Until next time, hasta los huevos.
Toodaloo.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.